Today, I'm going to encourage you to remember a time when you nailed it or watched and experienced someone you cared about nail it. You know, that time when a coveted aspiration was achieved. Maybe if you're in business, it's securing that client that you've been trying to win for a year. Maybe if you're in business, it's watching a client of yours achieve the success she wanted. Maybe if you're a parent, it's seeing your son or daughter achieve, score the winning point on their sports team, straight A's, and get on the honor roll. Or maybe it's just a smaller everyday win. It was a perfect day because not only did you accomplish so much, but you scratched out everything on your to-do list. Nailing it can be big or small. But one thing about nailing it, one thing about the win, it leaves you with a super feeling of satisfaction, being proud, exhilaration. And when I was tasked to talk to you about nailing, a story came to mind, a story about my husband Ross. And it goes back a long, long time ago to when he, and I too, was in high school. Setting the scene, it was the Thanksgiving Day football game when Westfield High School, our team, went again against its arch rival, Plainfield. We're in the last moments of that Thanksgiving Day game, and the score was 7 Plainfield, 6 Westfield, and things were looking dim. The coach called a pass play, and my Ross was the lead receiver. He did catch the ball, but not without some challenge because the Plainfield defender jumped in the air and tried to block it, but was totally unsuccessful. And when Ross caught that ball, he ran like the wind and scored a touchdown, which became the win of the game. With the extra point, Westfield now had 13 for the touchdown and the point, and Plainfield stayed at 7. And Ross became the hero that day. Yes, of course, of his team and of the coach and of the senior class of which he was a part, that they would score the win in their final year. But he also gained recognition in the community for his accomplishment. And he was actually written up in a sports column by a local sports writer. It wasn't till many years later, long after high school, long after college, long after we had been married and had kids, that we were down in the basement of our first house and we were going through things, doing the old clean out. And we came across this box of remembrances that belonged to Ross. And I happened to see the laminated article and I picked it up and I started reading it. And when I got to the phrase, Ross Menino, 5'8", 135 pounds of determination, running like the wind down the field. Wow, that was a heart stopper for both of us. We found ourselves getting teary. And it recalled for him and for me vicariously what that win felt like for him that day. It's the beautiful thing about nailing it. The feeling of the nail, of the win, becomes a moment suspended in time, and the feeling becomes an imprint on your soul. It's a pretty cool thing when you think about it, because nailing it is not one and done. It's not even rinse and repeat. Life changes, right? We move on and we do different things. And we're faced with new challenges. And we make new mistakes and take new missteps. But we also win. We also accomplish milestones in totally different scenarios. All those years later, Ross certainly didn't continue to play football. But as a father, he had that same kind of feeling of exhilaration when he saw each of our kids, Keith and Meredith, be born. He had that same feeling of exhilaration and still does when he looks at the picture we took when we brought Keith home from the hospital. And there was his grandfather, almost 90, his father, late in his 50s, Ross, and baby Keith, 4 generations. A win for sure, something to be proud of. Or, as Ross went on and was an entrepreneur and owned his own business for 20 years, and saw and felt success and had the satisfaction of serving his customers. And because it was a tire and automotive business, the satisfaction of knowing he had not only completed transactions and car maintenance and tire sales, but he had given them peace of mind because he was giving them a safe ride. So a totally different situation and scenario, but the same sense of the win. That's the very cool thing about nailing something, about winning. That the situation and the scenarios can be different. Feelings are basically the same. Which is why I believe it's really super, super important when you have a win, when you nail it, that you work to capture that feeling. And as I said, imprint it on your soul. Because nailing it isn't one and done, it isn't even rinse and repeat. But that thread, that universal quality of the feeling is the constant. And it's something to strive for. Because each time you nail something, it becomes a catalyst and a launch pad for the next thing. And each time you achieve a milestone, it positions you, levels you up to a slightly higher plane with its new sets of challenges, yes. And as I said before, mistakes and mishaps. But if you remember that the previous win, it becomes the fuel that propels you forward. That's what's exciting. And that's what makes talking about nailing fun. And that's what makes life interesting and business interesting, because there's always a new goal. There's always something new to which we can aspire. And that keeps us going. The evolution of it, the lifelong learning of it, the lifelong growth of it. That's pretty exciting stuff. So think about some of the wins in your life. Remember, even relive how that made you feel. And use that as the fuel to get you to your next step. If you can relate to what I'm saying, hit that like button or put a comment below. Most of all, Remember for yourself what the nailing, what the win felt like, and use it as the launch pad, the catalyst, the fuel that energizes you to win, to nail it yet again.